Okay, I am recording, and this is for the Public History Seminar COVID-19 project. I'm interviewing Nancy Campbell. It is May 22nd, 2020, around 1:24 p.m. And I am in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And Nancy, where do you live?
I am in Owings, Maryland.
And what is your job?
I still work as a contracts manager for a government contractor. Our customers include NOAA, the Census Bureau, Idaho National Laboratory, and that's it for now.
So how has the pandemic and COVID-19 affected your job?
We were lucky because everything is available electronically. So all the employees are still on the job working from their homes. And so in that regard, I only have to go to the office one day a week to pick up mail, print out checks if bills are due, that sort of thing. Which is good because I live 58 miles from the office.
And so is there any concerns you have about how the COVID-19 is going to affect your job?
No, we were able to obtain one of the PPP loans, the Protection Payroll Plan, where we were able to get enough money to cover 8 weeks of salary. And so that will definitely help out.
Let's see here. Let's see, have you or anybody you know been sick with the COVID-19?
No, we've all been isolating.
So what have been the biggest challenges you have faced during the outbreak?
Finding toilet paper. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. I found a package last week, and it is the first I have seen since January. And I elected not to be a hoarder at that time. It was getting to the point where I wished I had a little bit extra. And a friend found some extra at her supermarket and picked some up for me. So I'm not so worried about that anymore. That's a common problem around here anyway. Other than that, keeping my husband safe and keeping me clear of bringing the virus home to him because he has some underlying conditions.
What else has been out at the stores besides toilet paper?
Well, I haven't seen hand sanitizer, and for a while you could not find facial tissues. There are no alcohol wipes, no the sanitizing wipes well, we can find them at the doors of the supermarkets, but can't find them on the shelves at the supermarkets. And for a while, eggs were very expensive. They went up like $1 a carton. Milk was in short supply for a while, but that seems to have evened out.
Okay. So how has it affected your community, the area that you live in?
We have 315 known cases in Calvert County at the moment. 5 people have died. We're a rural county, so we don't have a large population center. Everyone is spread out, but our population contains a lot of federal workers. And so they've been staying home. Schools are closed and daycare centers are closed. So everyone is home, which is unusual, which I think is one of the reasons why we're short on toilet paper, because normally people would be at their jobs and not be at home. Um, so far, the hospital has not had problems. They've been able to handle the cases that have come in. We don't know how many people are not reporting. If a person has a mild case, they don't go to the hospital. There have been no public testing sites where one could go without having a doctor's basically a prescription to go get tested. So we only know about the ones who have been in the hospital.
And as a senior citizen, how does that affect how you react to the COVID-19, since senior citizens are more susceptible to the virus?
Well, the organization that sponsors the craft shows that I take part in was prohibited from meeting. Maryland is under a stay-at-home order. We're just now this week are authorized to go to a few places that are open, and those are mainly the supermarkets, obviously, but some specialty stores have opened. So there really hasn't been that many places to go. Um, the craft show sent out a notice a couple of days ago saying that the town that it's in has given them permission to have the first show on the 30th of May. It should have been the 16th of May, and there should have been one in April, but they had to be canceled. So that affected me. Other than that, because it is a rural community and we live out in the country, I could work outside and not be under the kinds of restrictions that people in towns and cities were under, where they couldn't even go outside. But my biggest concern is just been not bringing it home to Don. So I've been going out one day a week to just save up all the errands that have to be done and do them on a single day. I've got hand sanitizer in the car. If it's available at the door of the grocery store or the post office, I use that when I go in, and I grab one on the way out. Plus, I use the hand sanitizer that's in the car, which I read today. You're not supposed to leave in the car during high temperatures because it tends to explode. I didn't know that, but I guess it's the alcohol. And beyond that, just trying to be very, very careful and learn as much as possible. Like, I had questions for a while about, was the mail safe? When they were talking about how long the virus could survive on various services. I don't know who the mail carrier is on any given day. I don't know if that person's wearing gloves, but even if they were wearing gloves, where have those gloves been? What have they touched? So all of those things just made us super cautious. Don has not been out in public since January, just to give him first line protection.
And to clarify, Don is your husband?
Yes, he is just turned 82. So he's even older in that regard, more susceptible than I am.
And how has he been taking the quarantine?
Doesn't bother him a bit. He sits in front of his computer writing and barely notices that there's a virus going on, except he's very careful. I say, do you want to go out? Are you getting cabin fever? No, I'm fine right here. And so he lets me go do the running of the errands.
How do you think that the pandemic is going to affect the economy? What concerns do you have about that?
Badly, just because as of this morning, the national statistics for unemployed was 25%, which means a quarter of the people are out of business. Some of them are out of business permanently just because the small mom and pop businesses don't have the capital to continue staying in business. And overall, I think the big companies are going to do okay. particularly with government loans. And it's going to be a long while to come back. It took over 8 years to recover from the housing crash back in 2008. And so I suspect it's going to be at least 5 years, if not longer, to get back just to where we were when the virus showed up. Because it's a world crisis, it's affected every country's markets, and getting the supply chain moving again is going to take a time. Didn't do much for the retirement portfolio either. Every time the stock market crashed, everybody's 401k plan took a hit and dropped in value. Economists keep saying it'll come back, but it took a long time for it to come back after the housing bust.
Have you seen any like for sale signs pop up around the community for restaurants or businesses? We've seen that in Eau Claire here.
Not for sale because they're rented buildings. And so far, most of the restaurants around here have tried to do curbside pickup, or you could go into some of the fast food restaurants. You couldn't eat there, but you could take things out. So no, I haven't seen for sale on restaurants.
Okay. How do you think the COVID-19 will affect society as a whole mentally?
Well, for those people who are out of work and who don't have great prospects of being called back, I suspect it's going to be very damaging mentally. I've been watching interviews on the evening news where single mothers, for instance, with children to feed, have no clue as to where they're going to get their next paycheck from. They interviewed a man last night who showed his bank statement. It had 69 cents in it. And so his mental status is not great. I think there's going to be a lot more depression, a lot more anxiety, certainly. I think people are going to be very short-tempered with one another. It was getting to the point where the joke around here was sales at gun stores were up because the availability of toilet paper was down, and they were protecting the stash that they already had.
Mm-hmm.
That's just people trying to keep their humor intact.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's going to be very good for everyone's mental status.
So has your experience with the pandemic transformed how you think about your family and friends in the community?
Not all that much, because we've always lived cautiously. And so far there was not an issue of being separated from, just because our family is very widespread. John and Lisa, for instance, are 74 miles away. We haven't seen them since Christmas, but we talk on the phone. I have a friend here that has also been isolating, and so because she lives alone and Don and I live alone, we interact carefully, but we still see each other. We just don't go out shopping together like we used to.
Mm-hmm. Knowing what you know now, what do you think that individuals, communities, or governments need to keep in mind for the future if this happens again?
They have to stop pretending that these sorts of things aren't going to happen again. Dr. Fauci's been saying for years that a pandemic was inevitable, and he was right. You know, he never professed to know exactly when it was going to happen, but it's inevitable when you're dealing with science to know that things come in cycles. I think our leaders need to stop fighting wars and spending all the money on the military gear and put a little bit more money into the the warehousing of supplies so that they're available. I'm really fearful that they're not going to pay attention, and somewhere down the line, this is going to happen all over again because they don't believe it's going to happen again. And individuals, we need to believe in science and what science tells us and not what's politically correct.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. Would you like to add anything?
No, but I think this is a great project. I think that it's interviews like this that maybe, just maybe, someone will be able to pick up information from and use in terms of watching out for future trends. And make more toilet paper.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.